and their death saved countless lives of others. That day, my officers and I arrived at the school within a minute. We had to shoot our way in to get into the school to see the carnage that had been committed upon our two heroes, Casey and Paco, who were at the wrong place at the wrong time. They were killed by that evil person who was determined to kill, as he fired over 88 rounds that day. Students were hiding on the floor as shots rang out over their head. He still had over 212 rounds unspent before he killed himself. So his killing rampage could have been much worse. No student, no parent, no teacher, no grandparent, brother, sister, and no member of our community should ever have to have experienced this. By responding this day, it changed me forever in the way I look at things and what I want to try to accomplish. So why is this bill important? I want to make sure that if anyone is in crisis, we could make sure they could not do the killing that took place on this day. Running to the active shooter situation that day and finding my two heroes, Casey and Paco, dead was unacceptable to me. We all have to work together, law enforcement, schools, our community, legislature, to make sure we have positive change for the safety of our kids. I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. I just want to try to make sure that our kids are safe and that they never have to go through this again. And you know what? After that day, I knew that I could not keep everyone safe. I just wanted tools to try to keep them safe. And that has been my goal the whole time. And you know what? Mental health is huge. And I think in this state, and until we address mental health, we're going to be in a crisis. And I think we need to do all we can to make sure that that changes and changes for the positive. Today I brought over some orange ribbons like I have. I have a few here. After the meeting's over, if you would like one, I will spread them out on the table here, and you're more than welcome to get one. I wear this orange ribbon to remind me of what Aztec Strong means to me. What it means to me is that this one incident will not define who we are as a city or as a school. As we heal together, we will move forward, making our community better and stronger. And to do that, it's going to take each of us in here. It's not just me, it's not just you. We need to work together, and I'm more than willing to work together to make sure we do what we have to make this happen. As we unite, one in purpose, spirit, and strength. And I pray that that's what we will do here today, is move forward, one in purpose, spirit, and strength. I want to thank you for coming tonight, for caring enough to come and talk to us, and caring enough to come here and share one with another. And as we do that, everything will be able to make things better. And so with that, I'm going to recommend to the commission that this be polled, tabled indefinitely, and that we move on from here and be able to go forward and be strong, because we are strong. We are Aztec strong, and we will continue to be. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Is there any additional employee recognition, Mr. Mueller?
No, sir.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Next up is citizens input. We have a 3-minute maximum. Folks, while the sheets plural are coming up here, I just want to kind of make a quick comment regarding as we move forward as far as, you know, the way we're going to try and conduct things tonight. I understand, like the chief said, that we need to work together. However, in addition to that, we also need to be civil with one another, and we also need to keep things kind of as civil and under control as possible. So one thing is you are limited to 3 minutes. We will have a timer, and it's nothing personal. I'm not trying to shut anybody up, but if I tell you that time's up, I ask that you respect that. I also ask that we keep our, I guess, outbursts to a minimum. I prefer that we don't have any, but I understand the kind of the flashpoint that we might have arrived at here. So it's not going to be, it's not expected to be like a classroom or a library kind of thing, but just, if you would, just show respect for the folks around you, up here, and the staff that have come here, and just try and keep the sidebars and that kind of stuff to a minimum, please. So we don't have to, you know, if it gets a little crazy, we'll have to take other measures, and, you know, we don't want to do that. We want everybody to have the opportunity to be heard and to say their piece, okay? So let's do our best for that, please. When I do call you up, if I mess up your name, please forgive me in advance. But I would ask that you state your name and where you live, and then we'll start the timer for your citizens' input. Does that sound fair? So first is Mr. Mike Wayborn. And Mr. Wayborn, if you give me just a second, I'm going to get my timer pulled up here. I don't want anybody to say I gave one more time than the other. Timer. All right, I'm ready to go, sir. If you are.
Okay, Mike Wayburn. I live at 250 Bison Trail. I own 3 businesses here in Aztec, and I kind of got to change it up since I found out that got tabled, or it might get tabled. But you as commissioners, I just want to remind you that your job is to vote with your constituents, not with your personal feelings. There's no person in this room, state, or country can take away my rights. Free due process, my gun rights. That is a process, the legislation in Washington, D.C. will have to go through. I swore an oath to protect this Constitution when I went in the military. The chief swore an oath to protect this Constitution when he came in. And it's not a Constitution to Aztec, it's not to New Mexico, it's to these United States. As far as honoring Aztec Strong and the Aztec shooting since that incident, I've become to know Jamie, Casey's mom. I've become to know Francisco, Paco's dad. If you want to, I don't think this legislation would have changed what happened. If we want to honor those students, go look at my bench on the corner of Zia and Main. That's a good way to honor them. And if we need legislation to work on the problem, put it in for mental health. Don't mess with my guns. Because I've got a disgruntled ex-wife that all she'd have to do is put out one piece of paper, and I lose my rights for who knows how long because I didn't get my due process. So that's all I want to do. If this comes up again, I want to remind you that it is your duty to vote with your constituents, not with what you think in your head. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Oh, okay, it's over here. Next up is Connie Hutchison.
Hi, my name is Connie Hutchison. I live at 82 Road 3535. Okay, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. The Second Amendment is a part of our Constitution. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You took this oath when you were elected. House Bill 83 goes against our Constitution. This bill is not for our safety. This bill is the government's way of taking control. In 2017, the school shooting took place. A disturbed young man killed 2 of our children. Almost a year earlier, the FBI did an interview with him and his family. On an agenda, you stated that there were no legal mechanisms to provide for an opportunity for the FBI or other law enforcement to restrict his access to guns. The FBI closed the case after they interviewed him, the reason being he had no guns, he had committed no crime. House Bill 83 would not have stopped him. It is not the firearm that is the problem. It was the disturbed human being. Maybe if he had gotten a mental evaluation done, possibly spending time in the hospital, maybe there would have been a chance. But as we all know, these mentally deranged people may find other ways of carrying out their plans. There was a man who killed 3 people in a restaurant with a hammer. What about the ones who drive vehicles through a crowd? Please remember, these actions cannot be carried out without a mentally deranged person. So instead of taking our guns away from law-abiding citizens, let's do something about the people who are committing these heinous crimes. If you are driven by the fact that a gun was involved in the murders at school, then perhaps your focus and energy should be placed at the front door where you work, and you should have exercised your responsibility to protect our children within. It seems of no purpose to try to make law-abiding citizens accountable for actions of these deranged people. It would seem to serve no purpose other than to back your own personal agenda. Many of our Aztec residents and their family members are military families. They took an oath to support and defend our Constitution. And whether they are still active or vets, they still stand by that oath that they took and will defend it to the end. Something we all need to do. America was built on this Constitution, not on newfangled trends. Thank you.
All right, next up is Dale Brooks.
Hello, I'm Dale Brooks. I live at 105 Ruins Road here in Aztec. The Second Amendment reads, the well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I would like to ask the politicians here tonight, what part of shall not be infringed do they not understand? In the English language, it seems very clear to most people with common sense. In the New Mexico Constitution preamble, it reads, and I quote, we, the people of New Mexico, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of liberty in order to secure the advantages of a state government, do ordain and establish this Constitution. Article 2, Bill of Rights, Section 6, and the right to bear arms. No law shall abridge the right of the citizen to keep and bear arms for security and defense, or for the lawful hunting and recreational use, and for other lawful purposes. No municipality or county shall regulate in any way an incident of the right to keep and bear arms. Emphasis added. Thomas Jefferson, who drafted the Declaration of Independence, said, and I quote, the strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is as a last resort to protect themselves against tyranny and government, unquote. He also said, as a summary of the Second Amendment, the right to own and bear arms is an individual right. The militia consists of all people at all times. Every citizen has the absolute God-given right to be armed and to defend his person, his family, his property, and his country. No government or legislature has the authority to restrict or infringe in any way on the right of the people to be armed. Abraham Lincoln, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, said, and I quote, our safety, our liberty, depends upon preserving the Constitution of the United States as our fathers made it inviolate. The people of the United States are the rightful masters of both the Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution, unquote. I thank you for having the opportunity here to speak tonight. I have a little bit more I was going to say if this thing had continued to go on. I don't feel it's necessary at this point in time, but I appreciate you all keeping the Second Amendment and our Constitution in your minds when you go to vote on these issues. Thank you very much.
Bryce Current, you're next, please.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. I come here as a citizen of Aztec, New Mexico. This bill strips the people of their property and their rights in any due process. The problem with this bill is that everything's backwards. It's in favor of the government and not in favor of the people. This bill would require officers and deputies to go into a suicidal subject's residence and force a confrontation to gain access to their guns and their weapons. When in the past, we'd let the individual sleep it off and not sacrifice our lives or theirs. This bill would require citizens to go into court and defend themselves. The burden of proof would be placed on the citizen, not the state. The charge is you may be an endangerment to yourself or others. Key word may. This is a violation of the 2nd, the 4th, and the 14th Amendment of due process. Citizens would be required to hire an attorney, possibly purchase mental health evaluations, go through substance abuse assessments, counseling, all on their own dime, because it's a civil commitment versus criminal where the state would pay for that. It would be an uphill battle for the citizen in court and an abuse of power by the government.
Yeah, I think our mic is, I'm going to pause real quick.
Battery's done.
The battery probably died on it.
I got you here. I paused you so you can finish. So I guess, folks, we're going to have to use this one because that battery's not operable right now. I paused him at his time.
Okay, citizens would be required to hire an attorney, purchase a mental health evaluation, or go through substance abuse assessments and counseling. This would be an uphill battle for the citizen and an abuse of power by the government. What if the person is indigent? I could see their guns hiding in evidence until the time runs out and become the property of the state. With this bill, we are not fixing the person. We are only taking inanimate objects, putting a Band-Aid on a cut before the wound is even created. The bill erodes our rights. We are guilty before proven innocent. 30 of the 33 sheriffs and many chiefs are against this bill for a reason. Law enforcement was not consulted. Neither was Casey's mother. This is not a political argument when you talk to law enforcement. The majority of the sheriffs are Democrat. That deserves a pause. Other states have utilized a similar bill. However, they did it right. They afforded due process to citizens before taking their property. In other states, there's a hearing before a judge, and this real weird thing's required. It's called probable cause. Just like I may have, if I'm going to go get a search warrant, have to have probable cause. The Fourth Amendment has been tossed out the window. This bill looks good by title, but if you read this bill, it's filled with a bunch of landmines. This bill seems like a good idea, but the outcome will be disastrous. Basically, it's equivalent to taking a sleeping pill and a laxative in the same night. The intentions are good, but you're going to wake up with some serious problems. So obviously, this is supposedly going to be dead in the water. The only thing I would ask as a citizen of Aztec in the future, if anything like this comes before you in the future, that you'll ask for a vote from the citizens before you send any letter to the government.
Mr. Kern, I'll let you run over a little bit, but you're at about 3.5 minutes, so I have to ask you to wrap it up very quickly.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. If anything like this comes in the future, I believe the citizens need to vote. Amen.
Next is Jamie Lattin.
I'm Jamie Lattin. I do live outside of Aztec City District, but the only reason I am here tonight is because I'm tired of my daughter's name being used as political propaganda.
Baby, we can't hear you.
The only reason I'm here tonight is because I'm tired of my daughter's name, our tragedy that has affected everybody in this county, to be used as political propaganda. This bill, it wouldn't have prevented my daughter's death or Paco's death. I knew coming here tonight that my daughter's name would be brought up several different times, with or without me being here. I'm just really tired of it. I'm here to stand up for my daughter and the mental health issues that this kid did have. It's not a gun issue. I shut Governor Susana Martinez down the very night of the incident. If she wanted to be here for political propaganda, she could walk out the door. And you guys are going to use my daughter's death for that? I won't stand for it, and I know these citizens won't stand for it either.
Thank you, Ms. Lattin. Bryant Banry, did I say that right? Bryant Banry is next.
My name is Bryant Banry. I live at 113 South Church Avenue. I came here today in opposition of this bill that doesn't look like it's going to make it. But I'd just like to say God gives us our inalienable right, natural rights, which are life, liberty, which is freedom, and the pursuit of happiness, providing we are not harming others in the process. In a text taken from the Citizens Rule Book, Jury Handbook, page 6 of 18, it lists a summary of the Communist Manifesto. The Communist Manifesto represents a misguided philosophy which teaches the citizens to give up their rights for the sake of the common good. But it always ends in a police state. This is called preventative justice. Control is the key concept. When the people fear the government, you have tyranny. When the government fears the people, you have liberty, our God-given inalienable right. It appears that the Democrat Party is walking a fine line in destroying our rights and our liberty, which is our freedom. It does not matter what you call the agenda, whether you call it socialism, Marxism, fascism, Nazism, communism. It is the result of the same thing, the loss of our God-given liberty or freedom. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next is Linda Reynolds. I don't know, maybe she's out in the back? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I thought maybe you were out there. I was going to ask somebody to shout out there for you. Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
My name is Linda Reynolds, and I live at 201.
Yeah, you're going to have to pull that down. There we go.
I'm short. My name is Linda Reynolds, and I live at 201 Bison Trail. Chief, you gave a very good speech tonight. Some of it makes sense and others doesn't. We could not, any of us, had helped what happened. And our hearts are with you, and we will back you to the end. Now I have a question for y'all. How many of you, when you became commissioners, stood, lifted your right hand, and promised to protect and serve the Constitution of the United States? Any of you?
We all did.
You all did. Chief, when you pinned that badge on, didn't you?
Of course.
Okay. The Constitution in our Second Amendment does not say, take your pencil and pen in whatever you want. Yeah. Our Constitution is here because our forefathers foresaw this. They made that Constitution to keep us safe and to keep our country safe. What you're trying to do at any time, be it tonight or ever, is not right. You didn't have any input from we the people, and a lot of we the people put you in here. My thought is, leave the Second Amendment alone. It is not your right to change it.
That's right.
Logan Hale's next.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Logan Hale, and I live at 312 Frederick Avenue. I'm a student and JROTC cadet at Aztec High School. I'm here speaking today on behalf of the Second Amendment and the current infringements against it. I was present on December 7, 2017, when our school ground was invaded by a man with nothing less than malicious intent. 2 of our students, our community's young adults, were killed by this man, and it is my belief that gun laws wouldn't have changed anything. A criminal or a lawbreaker is somebody who breaks the law, so how good is a gun law to somebody? It all boils down to one thing. The only thing stopping a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Police arrived at our campus within minutes, and they were prepared to protect us against this crazed man. There are armed police inside of this building today. Gun laws have shown time and time again that they are nearly useless and serve only to pull the firearms from the general public. So far, in 2019, 101 fatal and non-fatal shootings have occurred in Chicago, and they are climbing. Chicago is has some of the strictest gun laws in the United States. Look at how good those laws have done them. Gun laws are only doing one thing: harming the common man. Thank you.
Great.
I just have to say briefly, I'm proud of you, Logan, even though we may be on different sides of this. I'm proud that you got it together and spoke in front of the crowd tonight, so good job. Next, I think it's your mom, Skylar Hale.
I'm Skylar Hale, and I live at 312 Frederick Avenue. I'm Logan's mom. I find myself before you today to address the issue of gun control. As the mother of an Aztec high school student who was present on December 7th, I want my voice to be heard. First, my son and I moved here from Wisconsin in 2014 to be closer to family. Since having done so, I have been followed home, our house has been robbed, and my son's school was infiltrated by a madman aiming to take lives. Despite all of that, let me be clear when I say, I oppose any red flag laws or all laws that infringe upon the rights of the people, and I oppose the officials who try to revoke those rights. As I'm sure most are aware, recently the governor recalled our defenses from the border. That, combined with things like the September talks of closing small-town local police departments in Bloomfield, pushing the estimated call response times to 20 or 30 minutes, and her eager willingness to alleviate our means of home defense, I can say with absolute certainty that it does not make me feel safer. She does not aim to keep New Mexicans safe, nor do the officials who support her in these efforts. You do not represent me, you do not represent my family, or many of the people who have joined me here today, and you do not represent the betterment of New Mexico. Please put your own self-interests aside and do your job to uphold the Constitution, or step down for somebody who will.
All right, the next one, I apologize. It looks like maybe Monica Smith or Mona Smith. I apologize. Yeah, we got a light back there.
I have lived here since '95 with my family. I moved from Bloomfield. My kids have gone through Aztec high schools. We have taken our kids, we have taken our grandkids hunting. We've taught them how the safety of guns from the time they were toddlers. They know what the right and wrong way for guns. Taking them is not the right way. Teaching and making them learn from the time they're little is the proper way to teach kids the safety of gun. We go hunting, the grandkids go hunting, they've all been through hunter safety, and that is part of a family thing for us that we all enjoy. And they have all learned the safety. And we are for the Second Amendment, and we will fight for the Second Amendment.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next citizen is Harry Ellis.
My name is Harry Ellis. I live at 312 Sandia Court. I'd like to thank the City Council, the Mayor, Chief of Police for letting us speak. Without the police department protecting us, people don't realize how they lay their life on the line every day for us. And we should have more respect for the law enforcement of the city of Aztec than we do. I was going to say a lot more about this House Bill 83, but seeing as how it looks like it's dead in the water, I'm dead set against House Bill 83, HB 83. For one reason and one reason only. I think it infringes on our Second Amendment rights. And if we don't stop this now, it's just going to get worse. I have a lot of respect for the citizens of Aztec and the community of Aztec. I think it's a great place to live, but you can take guns and put them in the wrong hands of the people. Taking guns away is not the answer. It only takes a few. And I don't think that a few should jeopardize our right to bear arms. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. John Robeson.
I'm John Robinson. I live at 407 Animus. And I'm a military vet, so I've taken that oath a couple times, actually. And I'd like to say there's only one way to infringe on the Second Amendment. I don't care whatever kind of law it is, from the House Bill 8, House Bill 83, is with a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution being ratified.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Jim Kennedy is next.
My name is Jim Kennedy. I live at 1212 Irish Drive. I raised my family here, been here for 27 years. I'd ask that, thank you for your time. It's an unforgiving position that y'all are in, but with all due respect, I would like for you to vote against our Second Amendment rights, because I believe the way the House Bill 83 law is, it is against our Second Amendment rights, and it does not give due process to the accused. Thanks for your time. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Next is MP Schildmeyer.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and staff, my name is MP Schildmeyer. I live at 80 Road 4992. I'm here to try to shed some light on what House Bill 83 actually says. All of you are under the impression that no due process is provided for. Maybe some of you have had to file a divorce, and maybe your partner or husband or wife was physically violent. It's very common practice to go into court with your attorney or without and get a restraining order so that the person who is being violent, who seeks to do you harm, is restrained from being around you. I used to be an attorney, and I had a young woman as a client. She came to me for a divorce. Her husband had been beating her up, so we went to the judge, and we appeared in front of the judge and asked for a restraining order. We got one. We didn't have House Bill 83 or any such law. And so 2 nights later, while this young woman was at work, she was working at Dunkin' Donuts. There was a fire captain seated at the table next to her. Her husband came with his gun and shot her in the head and killed the fire captain as well. Now, if I'd had HB 83, the same day I got the restraining order, I would have submitted that information to the judge, and that man wouldn't have a gun. And maybe my young client could have stayed alive and mothered her children.
All right, folks, this is what we were talking about. Everybody is giving you the opportunity to speak. I expect you to give the same to somebody just because they're on the other side of the issue. Okay?
Due process.
We're here to debate that. It's citizen input, and if we have to continue to stop, then we're going to be forced to take other measures. So please, allow everybody up here the same respect that you gave the others.
Yes, sir, he's right.
Thank you. Due process involves a hearing in front of a judge, and that is what is provided for in HB 83. I have read that bill. I don't know how many of you have. But that is exactly what it says. There is no lack of due process. And that law would never be ruled unconstitutional because it's the same as principle as getting a restraining order in a divorce case. And that law has been on the books in every state for about 50 years now. So please inform yourself of what rules or proposed laws are really about. Maybe you might want to talk to the other side, and, you know, we can agree to disagree, but let's try to get together and not fight one another, but try to work together to keep our citizens safe however we best think. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And please forgive me if I mispronounce the last name. Is it Shaley, Monty Shaley, or is it Shalley? Is that one or two? Shalley. Monty Shalley. Sorry about that.
I'm going a little different direction here.
Okay.
I would go
Well,
ahead
sir,
and-
if you like, we can, if you want to come to the end, because you have a different, I'm sorry, I didn't notice.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Okay. He has a different topic for citizen input, so we don't want to stop the momentum here. I'm going to move on to, is that Coleman?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Jess Coleman, I live on Lover's Lane here in Aztec. This bill partially deals with Second Amendment, but as you go forward and at the time of at any time once, who makes the decision who to take a gun from if they're trying to kill themselves, why do we care? It's their choice. And that's what we're talking about, is a choice. And the Second Amendment guarantees us all the right to own a gun. From the chief to myself to my daughter. But to take somebody who says, I'm going to kill myself, they could do the same exact thing with a bottle of aspirin. Are we going to outlaw aspirin? It's the same principle. We are not put here to make someone else's decision for them. And if you think you are, in my opinion, I think you're overstepping your bounds. Thank you.
I certainly care if somebody is in a position where they're going to take their own life. And next, Mr. Shalley, you'll be one more. There's one more ahead of you. Mr. Gilbert. Is that William Gilbert?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
William Gilbert, I live in Aztec, New Mexico, out towards the state line on Highway 550. I think it's pretty apparent here. This entire topic is unconstitutional on a lot of avenues. I respect ladies' legal advice here. I think there is an argument to be made there, but I don't think this is the right time to get into that anymore. I have a few other things that I could talk about concerning that, but no need to get into it. I just see here that I think we're all here together. This is our community. I'm certainly heartfelt for the families, for the chief, what they went through. And honestly, I think we all need to all of us need to, we got to turn it up. Certainly all.
Just die on that thing too. All right, I'm pausing your time, sir.
Give them most of me. One of them's got to work. All right. Anyway, I'm heartfelt for the families, for the chief. I understand a little bit about that. I know a little bit about that.
Well, I just think we're all here, it's our community, we live together, we're neighbors, we're brothers and sisters. I think that they deserve especially our prayers and our respect, and I thank this committee for using your good judgment. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Now, Mr. Shalley, you're up again. Thank you.
Got a mic coming at you, sir.
Coming that way, Monty.
Nobody wants to talk. It's not on the list. I didn't get to put my name on the list, and I was wanting to talk just for like 2 minutes.
Go ahead again.
If you don't mind, sir.
What do you guys think?
Just one. No, because no guarantee.
Yeah, I apologize, but, and it's nothing personal, but if I let one, I have to let everybody that didn't sign up, and we had this specifically set up out front, and as people were coming in, we invited them to sign up to speak.
So on advice of counsel.
So under advice of our legal counsel, I'm going to have to decline. I apologize. Mr. Shalley, whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, I agree with, I am against HB 83. I wasn't aware that this was about that. I'm going back to an old issue, and I would like to thank the people responsible for bringing curbside recycling to all the citizens of Aztec. Even though Aztec is so small that if you really want to recycle, you're not probably more than 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the drop site. But because that inconvenience was intolerable, it makes a lot more sense to tax all the residents of Aztec for something that probably less than half will use. But we will be paying our $6 a month, whether we can afford it or not, so that you will not be too inconvenienced. Thank you for your consideration in this matter at looking at all sides before you made your decision. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. That concludes our citizens' input. We are moving on to the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted upon with one motion. If any item proposed does not meet the approval of all commissioners, a commissioner may request that the item be heard under items from consent agenda.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to pull item B, resolution 2019-1119 in support of House Bill 83.
We have a motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So we move to items under consent agenda, or we approve the consent agenda as given after removing item B. Okay. So next, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda with the exception of item B, resolution 2019-1119, in support of House Bill 83.
Mr. Mayor, I so move that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of item B.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are at items from consent agenda. We're going to take up item B, resolution 2019-1119, in support of House Bill 83. Open that up for discussion, please.
Okay, Mayor Snover.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem.
Why are we not honoring Chief Hill's request to have this tabled indefinitely and to not vote on it?
We are getting there, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
But we had to pull it off of there so we could do that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it would be my recommendation that we honor Chief Hill's recommendation to table it and not because it's dead at the legislature.
I concur, but I'm open for discussion, of course. We haven't made a motion or anything yet, but we're still having discussion. Anybody else want to add to this?
I would just like to say that I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. We appreciate your input. I know that we've all taken a lot of calls, emails in the last couple of days, and it's important for you to get your feelings out there to us, and we appreciate that. I have the utmost respect for Chief and support him in every way that we can. But I am glad that we are tabling this bill indefinitely.
Anybody else? Ditto. I'm going to go ahead and close discussion and entertain a motion then.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move to table Resolution 2019-1119 in support of New Mexico House Bill 83 indefinitely.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Considering we're not going to vote on it, I'm just going to do a voice vote, if that's okay. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We are now moving into business items. Item A.
Take a 5-minute break to let it clear.
Looks like we're
You can keep rolling.
All right, folks, as you head out, we actually do have some more meeting to take care of, so if you wouldn't mind trying to exit kind of quietly so we can move on. But if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, we'd love to have you. Thank you. Okay, you guys feel pretty good as far as the background noise moving forward? You guys okay?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
All right. Thank you again. Thanks for those that are still here. So we're going to go ahead and take up business item A, final adoption of ordinance 2019-489, amending chapter 16, section 16-211, solid waste and recycle rates. Good evening, Delane.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commission, this is the final adoption of ordinance 2019-489, amending Chapter 16, Section 16-211, solid waste and recycle rates. Nothing has changed with this ordinance. We've added a couple additional rates that were in the agreement, just some miscellaneous charges. I've heard no other comments other than the card that went out that was propaganda. And we've settled that it's been $3 of an increase, not the $63 that everybody heard. So there's been no change since then.
Okay. We'll open it up for discussion and any questions for Mrs. George.
I don't have anything.
No questions. Thank you, Mrs. George.
Thank you.
Rosalind, do you have any questions of Delane?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right, thank you again. We'll go, hearing no other conversation about this or questions of Mrs. George, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion for business item A.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am?
I'd like to move to approve the final adoption of ordinance 2019-489, amending Chapter 16, Division 3, Section 16-211, solid waste and recycle rates. Solid waste rates will be effective March 22nd, 2019, and recycle rates will be effective September 1st, 2019.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Carl, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover?
Aye.
Commissioner Sight?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fry?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. Item B under business items is the Aztec Municipal Golf Course Agreement.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. What I'm requesting is just direction from the City Commission in reference to our agreements that we have in place, both for the lease of the course itself, the grounds of the course, and we have an agreement with an operator, Mr. Randy Hodge, doing business at Riverside Valley. Mr. Hodge's agreement expires December 31st of this year. The lease agreement for the course itself expires a couple of months later in February of 2020. And I think we're to the point to where we're going to have to make a decision soon to either continue with the course beyond those dates or get direction on whether to see these current agreements through to the end of them and not renegotiate or re-up that agreement if everybody's willing. Another option is to, in both contracts, we have a 90-day out option to where we could, terminate both agreements within 90 days. And once again, what I'm asking for is direction from the commission on how to proceed with the golf course and the agreements that we have in place.
Okay.
And I will stand for questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Mayor Pro Tem, I'll give you the first crack at it.
I'm interested in us considering option B and honoring the contract to the end of this time. There's lots going on, and Mr. Hodge is working really hard to try to find new partners and to keep it open. And if he's given this amount of time, it will allow the tournaments that are scheduled to take place. Lots of activities going out there. The high school golf team is out there. There's people that are members and play golf. So I think we should honor our contract to the end so that they'll have time to complete those, plus potentially find new partners to keep the golf course open.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I would concur with Mayor Pro Tem. I think if we can give it a shot and see what they can come up with by the end of this year, that if there's an option to allow it to continue on, that'd be great. But cutting it short, I don't think it would benefit us in the long run either. So.
Okay. Commissioner Randall?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Commissioner Seitz?
I agree with the amount of scheduled events that they already have, and I know that Mr. Hodge is working really hard. Like Commissioner Fry said, he's working really hard to try to find somebody to come in and take over the management and stuff of the course. So I think that this will hopefully give them the time that they need to make that happen. So I'm totally in favor of option B.
And I guess I'll just kind of, for the record, chime in as well. I mean, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I might be having a different point of view on this, but we have had some meetings about this. We've talked about it. Randy has given his input, and regardless of whether you agree with the agreement or not, because I've heard both sides, as far as why we should keep it, why we shouldn't keep it, and we could talk about this for hours, I think. But the bottom line is we entered into the agreement, and there are people counting on us to see it through. The golf kids, the folks that have put ATOS, have put out the disc golf course. There's foot golf out there. There's events that are happening. So again, I'll just echo what the other commissioners have said. I do believe that we should see it through to the end of December, and that also gives some finality and some time for anybody that may want to come in and maybe take it over, because I understand there's some talk about maybe getting together a nonprofit to take over control of the golf course. I hate to see it close. I'm personally not a golfer, but at the end of the day, I think we've committed to it and we need to see it through, and hopefully that will buy some folks some time to find an alternate way to keep it open without putting the city on the hook for it, basically. So that's all I have, and unless anybody else has any further comment or question of anything, I'm going to close discussion. So discussion's closed on business item B, and I'll go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
Mayor, move to approve option B and give notice to HVCC and Rubies in the Valley that the city intends to continue with the lease of the golf course grounds and operations of the golf course facilities under existing agreements through the end of the current calendar year, which would be December 31st, 2019, at which time the agreement with Randy Hodge, doing business as Rubies in the Valley, would not be renewed, and the agreement with HVCC would be terminated.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover.
Aye.
Commissioner Seitz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fry.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We are at the city manager, commissioners, and attorney reports. Mr. Mueller.
Just want to say thanks for everybody that turned out today. for their input, and that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Hunsaker?
I do not have
Thank you. I'll go ahead and give Mayor Pro Tem the first crack again because she's out of town. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a report?
Okay, I just want to thank the city for the opportunity to attend the Mayor's Ball and fundraiser in support of the Boys and Girls Club. And it was quite an event, and it was an honor to be there. I particularly want to give thanks to Chief Hill for his commitment to taking care of the citizens of Aztec and his concern for the children in our community. And I just always commend him and appreciate all the work he's done. And I can't thank him enough. I also would like to thank Randy Hodge for the meeting that I had with him and understanding the schedule, and he has been so committed to the golf course, and I truly support his efforts to create a nonprofit, to find corporate sponsors, and to make this thing work for the community. I think that would just be great. So thank you, Randy Hodge, for all that you do. And that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Commissioner Sipe?
I too met with Randy, and so he could kind of tell me the events that were planned and the plans that they're trying to do. So I commend him for his efforts on that, on trying to keep it open, because I still believe it's a very worthwhile endeavor for our community, for those that enjoy all all the things that are going on out there. I also I have a special MPO meeting tomorrow to vote on the amendment, the federal amendment for our arterial, about extending that funding. So they're holding a special meeting on this, and something that the county had, so that we can get that amendment in by March 15th, I believe, is the deadline. And then I also have an EDAB meeting on this, not this Thursday, but the next Thursday. So, and I know I told you guys I was participating in Dancing with the Stars. I didn't win. But I'll tell you what, if you ever get a chance to do this, it was such a fun experience, working with the professional dancers, and we had a week to learn our dance. So it was, but to do it, and they ended up raising almost $3,000 for the nonprofits.
That's awesome.
That evening, for all the different ones. That was all combined. So, I really appreciate being asked to do that, and if you guys are ever asked, I encourage you to do it, because it's a lot of fun. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Randall?
I have my first library board meeting tomorrow, so looking forward to that. I just found out today I won't be able to be around for Lodgers Tax next week, so I'll let them know, but I mean, I'm not a voting member anyways, but maybe I'll get the information and be able to report back on that at the next meeting. I'm not gonna be in town, so I'll miss that one. I will be at library tomorrow. I did have a fishing report. I wasn't out there myself, but I heard that they stocked the lake again at Tiger Park, and they put some actual big ones in there last week, and they're hitting spinners really good too. So if anyone wants to go out there, not just bait fish, they're hitting spinners really good out at Tiger Park. And also, I want to say, I think it's very unfortunate that we have to have controversy to pack our commission room, but it was great that we had a big turnout tonight. And people are passionate about something. Mm-hmm. And a lot of good points are made, and I want to echo what Mayor Pro Tem said, and that I have the utmost respect for our chief of police, and I sleep good every night knowing that he's out there with the best of intentions, just to keep us safe and look out for our kids. So appreciate that, Chief. And that is all.
All right. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lewis.
Get a pizza. I'm kidding. Yeah, I attended the San Juan Water Commission last Wednesday, a week ago. It was a 4-hour work session to discuss possible methods of transmission of water from Ridges Basin Reservoir, also known as Lake Nighthorse, down here to protect the water. It was a long, very involved thing, and I think poor city manager was there with me and some other city staff, and I don't think a lot was accomplished, but it was interesting, some of it. There's no real method of transporting that water yet except through the river. So, and there probably will not be for many years because it would take many millions of dollars to accomplish a pipeline or anything like that. So in the next century, we'll have something else. But anyway, it was a really good discussion. I was unfortunately unable to attend the San Juan County Commission meeting the next night, the next afternoon. I was unable to get out of work, but I will do my best to attend the next one. Now, about the mayor's ball, I've discovered that one of our commissioners is a dancing fiend. Mr. Randall. About the mayor's ball. That was the mayor's ball. You were dancing. Yeah. And he did beautifully. He did very well. And I'm really amazed. That's really good. But maybe next year with Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'll give him his name.
I also would like to throw my support behind Chief Heel. I have the utmost respect for him and his knowledge and his character. He's a man of extremely upstanding character, and I think that's so wonderful to find in these days and times. Also, I would like to mention there was a photo of myself and Ms. Watkins that's been circulating, and it was a good photo at the mayor's ball, so that was a lot of fun. But other than that, I don't have anything else, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please. I can't believe I left out the mayor's ball. It was great. I can't believe I spaced, and I've never been told I danced beautifully before. But thank you. Anyway, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay. I also was at the mayor's ball, and I want to thank the mayor pro tem for being my date. My wife's been out of town for several weeks, tending to her mom who's not so well. But I had a great time. It was my first time ever going to it. It was cool. You know, got to say a couple of words that I'd forgotten I'd committed to. So I think it went okay. Anytime we get an opportunity as elected officials or community leaders, whatever you want to call it, to shine a light on a nonprofit organization or a charity, especially something like the Boys and Girls Club, I think it's a great opportunity to highlight the cool things that we have in our region, not just Farmington or Aztec or Bloomfield, but collectively. And it went to a great cause. The auction was fun, watching people, the old, I got $1 million or whatever they were selling that stuff for. But it was really cool, and I'm looking forward to going next year. I went to Washington, D.C. last week with Western Leaders Network, and I had the opportunity to meet with some of our congressional delegation and talk about some of the issues that face us here in the Intermountain West, conservation issues, affordable housing issues, not just issues specifically to Aztec, but in the entire region, and also issues specific to Aztec. And I will say Congressman Ben Ray Lujan bent over backwards to meet us and to spend time with us and to talk about these issues. I was also able to meet with Congresswoman Deb Haaland. Although she's not our congressional representative, she borders our district, and she was very gracious and gave us her time to talk right after she had presided over the floor session. So it was, I think, important for us to make these connections, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on. I think it's important to keep those connections alive and to keep them vibrant, because there may be times when we need some help out here, or we need someone that we can interface with, whether it be a staff member or the Congress members themselves to help us move things along, things like arterial funding and stuff like that down the road, or another project we may need a little bit of help with. So I thought it was a great time, and I hope that we can continue to send a contingent, as we move into the future. And I just want to say one thing about, this is still, but especially the folks that left, of course, and I echo Commissioner Randall. It seems folks don't, we don't always come to the meetings and things like that, but I was, this representative democracy at its best right here. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the issue, the people's voices were heard, and I think that's important. We're not always going to agree, but I think it's important that we have civil discourse, we talk through these things, so hopefully some of the finger pointing and, the table banging can be maybe at least minimized a little bit, and we can hear each other out And sometimes you just are going to agree to disagree about an issue and you move on with your life. And I think we did a pretty good job tonight, so thank you to everybody that was part of this. And I want to give a special thanks to Chief Heel. And, you know, this was more about, in my opinion, from my perspective, support for our Chief of Police. Because he's been there since the very second this happened. And my intent personally was never to try and politicize anybody that was involved in that day. I was there in the gym building. I wasn't there in the hallway. And it's just one of those things you hope never happens again. And it was an awful day that we'll never forget, and I think it's important that we need to continue to remember that stuff as we move forward, and that spirit that we were able to work together and come together, even though the same people that are in this room and that were in here earlier and the folks that are sitting up here, we're the same people. You know, that day, the day before, the day after, and today, we're still those same people as far as the things that we care about. And that's really all I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do appreciate everybody's efforts tonight. Special thanks to Chief Heel. I have the utmost respect and admiration for him. This is not easy, but thank you for that, and that's all I have. I would like to move on to department reports now, please. I'm seeing none. Okay, move to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, folks.
I love this.